What are your thoughts on certain gimmicky fights selling and prize fighting, but a guy like Triple G doesn't get quite the same shine?
Yeah, well, that's anything. That's the music industry. That's the entertainment industry. That's the boxing industry. That's the sports industry. You know, what I'm saying is, you get a gimmicky record. A Justin Bieber record will sell a lot more than somebody who could outblow everybody. It's not about the actual fight or the actual fighter. It's about the way you market it. Like, look, Conor McGregor versus Floyd Mayweather is going to outsell everything, and that's a joke. It's a total, complete, fraud of an event. It's Barnum and Bailey nonsense. So.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that because there's been a lot of buzz about that lately. I mean, Mayweather was talking about how McGregor's the one guy he's going to come out of retirement to face. Yeah, it's kind of an interesting sort of thing, but weird that he's never participated in the sport, and some people are giving him a chance.
Just like Manny versus Floyd. So the only fight anybody wanted for years and years and years, and they didn't give it to them. And then when they did fight, neither of them had a knockout in over 5 years. I think Floyd had one when Victor Ortiz wasn't looking, and
Sucker
hadn't knocked anybody out in half a decade, and everyone's like, "Oh, this is the fight of the century, like Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier," and you go, "Not even close," like the two undefeated best on the planet in their prime, and Ali coming out of jail, and it was the biggest event. So this thing might have been like a circus act event. Manny passed his prime, Floyd passed his prime, no one knocking anybody out, no one even having a chance to knock anyone out. Not like Tommy Hearns versus Sugar Ray Leonard, where like these were prime, specimens of fighters. These were, old men fighting each other. In fact, when it was announced, they said, "Oh, grumpy old men," like, come on. But that's what it is. It's about names, celebrities, and you market celebrities. That's what the world has become. Look at our president. Our president is a is a marketed celebrity. It's not a real president. Obama was a marketed celebrity too. It's like these guys, you make them famous and make them a personality, and get them ratings, and the higher the ratings and that's what the whole world has become, or is. Back in the day, you had to fight. If you were afraid of a fighter, you had no choice. You had to fight them, or the public wouldn't let you get away with it. Now it goes, well, the business isn't right, so, and a million excuses could be made of why you shouldn't fight the best challenge. That's what today is, so.
And I mean, you did have that famous video talking about Floyd Mayweather and the quality of competition. The McGregor fight would probably be the biggest example of that, I would have to think.
Yeah, well, of course. With Floyd is a businessman, and he's a marketing genius. So what Floyd does is he and he would say this to his fighters that he would roll with. He said, the biggest, smartest move is to take the biggest rewards for the least risks, which makes sense as a businessman, But there's other guys with different mentalities that were like, I don't want the least the least risk. I want the biggest challenge that no one thinks I can win, so I could show the world I could do it. They don't want the least risk. They want the big risks to prove the world that they are the best. Not have like a look, I'm undefeated. I never lost a fight. Because I pick the opponents at the right times and when I should fight them and who's stylistically perfect at what time in their career. At a different time, you had to put up or shut up. It was a different eras. But this is the day of the celebrity. It's about names only. So.
Yeah, nowadays it's like he's knocked out 15 janitors. Like you don't really know who's on the record. You just see the O at the very end there. But I mean, you've talked about MMA in a certain sense. You're like, I don't quite follow it as much. But I mean, on Posse Cut, you said on the Gracie family grappling. Is there an effort to maybe watch mixed martial arts more? Have you been checking it out lately, or does the whole Dana White disrespecting boxing thing?
I watch some MMA, and I'm not a fan of Dana White as a person. I don't like the way he markets and uses boxing, and says bad things about it, and says, Ronda Rousey could beat up this fighter in boxing, when meanwhile, one jab would knock her unconscious. If it
exactly,
was a big nail. So he does that to discredit the sport and also piggyback the hype of the famous fighters in boxing, you know? So if you let MMA be MMA and let boxing be boxing, you're good, you know? But once you start, you know, using the one for the other and bad-mouthing it, and like Conor McGregor talking about, you know, Paulie Malignaggi said, hey, look, I'm a champion, 2-3 years, 2-3 belts, and I fought this many fighters and this and that. Like, I'm a professional. You know, I might not have the knockout power, but, you know, before you go talking about, oh, I want to fight Floyd or this guy, fight somebody that's, you know, on my level, because we would all kill you. We'd all outbox circles around your head. So, and he said, oh, who's that? Who's that? It's a championship boxer of a sport you're going in. You know, it's like they have no respect. So it's like, it is what it is. You know, I just don't like that where they throw the art form of pugilism out the window and act like it's nothing. Meanwhile, none of them could do it, you know? So.
Yeah, and there's a lot of crossover now in terms of those MMA boxing fights being made. I mean, Roy Jones Jr. was talking about fighting Anderson Silva. There was a card that happened with UFC, and Jimmy Manuwa, who won his fight, called out David Haye. It's getting to be kind of a weird situation. I don't know that I want to see these sort of fights going ahead. I mean, it sounds fun in a way, but I don't know.
Anderson Silva wanted to fight Roy in a boxing match before he was losing, you know, when he was still, you know, on that heavy winning streak. He said, yeah, let me go into boxing. And I think Dana White said, nah, you're not doing that. You know, because everyone knew Roy Jones at the time, you know, with a, you know, box circles around his head, you know. But and the same thing where there was Clinton Cintrone, who was a fighter, who I think he won a belt or fought for the title. I forget it. You know, there's so many belts now. I forget who had him. And who, or Citrone. Kermit Citrone is his name. Jesus, it was a while ago. And he said, hey, listen, I'll go in MMA. I used to be a wrestling school. I got some wrestling in me. I'll knock these guys out. Let me in it. You know, and who knows if he could have or not, but he claimed he could have. And you know, Dana White kept saying, nah, Floyd Mayweather. Like, who's this guy? It's like, yo, he's a title holder. And you're going to brush him off like he's nothing, because what happens is he knows Floyd wasn't going to take an MMA match. So go see, they're scared of us. But then, you know, when the guys in boxing that say, yeah, I'll go in, you know, but they're not old men, not like James Toney. That was another publicity stunt. It was fat James Toney in there with a Hall of Famer for his first fight, you know, like, how do you say his name? Randy Couture.
Randy Couture, yeah.
Yeah, he puts him in there with a Hall of Famer for a first fight. and you know, James Toney at the time wasn't even beating legitimate boxers anymore. He was like falling down during matches. It's like, so you put this guy, oh, look, it's James Toney. Yeah, it's a guy that can't even beat boxers anymore. You know, and then they put him in this big match against a Hall of Fame UFC guy, and then all the UFC guys go, oh, see, it's brainwashing. They go, see how much better how lousy a boxer would do in this sport. It's like, yeah, that's possible, but put an in-prime, legitimate, you know, boxer who's knocking people out right now in the ring, and then you could say that. But you don't put like a old, you know, out of shape, old fat guy against a Hall of Famer. You know, it'd be like taking one of the great rappers and putting him, you know, who's not rapping good anymore. You know how these rappers are great, and you look up to them, and then 15 years later, you're like, wow, their records are terrible, their verses aren't good. And then you put them in a battle with, like, one of these battle rappers. In their first battle match, you put them against a top-tier battler. And then what do you expect's going to happen? You know, the OG guy that can't rhyme that good anymore isn't going to win it. But what would you do? You would do like any other sport. You would put the OG in with a couple lower tier guys and let them get the, you know, the feel for it. Same thing if you put a boxer into MMA or an MMA guy into boxing. You put them in with a couple lower tier guys and you let them see if they're good at the sport. You know, see, okay, the rapper beat a couple low tier battlers. Okay, now he's going to go to mid tier. Now he's going to go for the champion. Same thing with boxing where you know, fight a couple, okay, this guy, that guy, and then if you could do it, then fight a top-tier guy. But you got to work your way up, you know, just like you can't just, okay, here's a boxer, put him in MMA and see what happens. Yeah, of course, you put him against Hall of Fame ex-champions. What do you think's going to happen? You know? Like, you know, it's like any sport. It's like have Michael Phelps do a track and field, you know, race. You know, he's not gonna, you know, run too good against a champion track and field guy. You know.
Yeah, you get people watching it, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's good or has merit or anything like that.